Hey everybody, so I have a major life update on my part, and I'm also going to talk about creating and destroying opportunities with your thoughts. So first, in terms of the life update, my wife and I, we have moved. So yeah, in case you were wondering what was happening in the previous video with like all the empty space, and I think the one before that, I was in some other space, that was related to this move. So, we've moved to Brooklyn Crossing, which is this luxury building that's right next to Barclays Center here in Brooklyn, New York. And, this is where like the New York Nets are, and where, a lot of other performances and games and so on are going on all the time. And yeah, previously in our old building, we had a 1-bedroom apartment and a studio apartment that were down the hall from each other. And the studio apartment was for my teaching, piano and so on. And then the 1-bedroom was our home. And yeah, we've just made a major upgrade. We're very fortunate we were able to do that in both respects, because the studio, it didn't really make sense to continue there. And so we got this 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a large terrace at this wonderful new building. And I mean, it's honestly been amazing. It's quite surreal to be here and even just be recording this video right now. So there's some sirens going on, but that always happens in New York City, honestly. So yeah, so basically now this is our new home, obviously, and our 1-bedroom in the old building, we're actually not renting out. It's actually my new teaching studio, and it's about a 10-minute walk from here, so not very far, but it is a longer commute because I'm just going down the hall now going down the street now instead of down the hall. So yeah, so we have you can see our terrace here. It's quite spacious, apparently second largest type of terrace in this building, and both our living room and our second bedroom open up onto it. You can see we actually just got these chairs and this little table from like someone in the building. And right now it's like winter. It's actually 50 degrees, which is a lot nicer than it was recently. But we're hoping during the summer we're gonna have like a lot more furniture and stuff out here. This is part of our building here, and yeah, I'm just gonna try. I always like this cup coffee meow, though it's tea inside. But anyway. So, yeah, I mean, it's honestly the move went very smoothly. I was a little concerned about it because I still had teaching and stuff going on, but my wife took care of pretty much everything. Everything went well. Like, we have my upright piano here now, as well as 2 keyboards. The studio has the baby grand piano and 2 more keyboards there. And we might get another one as well too, come to think of it. But yeah, nothing was damaged. Everything went smoothly. And yeah, in choosing this place, we also did think about, because we're practicing musicians, we're just practicing honestly all the time. And we wanted some place where we'd be able to practice without worry. And it happens that right below this floor is one of the floors of amenities, and so we have no direct downstairs neighbors to disturb, and we also happen to be on like a little corner here, so we don't have like neighbors on the we don't have too many neighbors on the side to disturb either. So me, my wife, we can practice whenever, and I don't think anybody's going to complain, just like it in the old building as well too. So yeah, I mean, apart from the obvious of just way more space, way more comfort, and just being inspired by wonderful surroundings, even just from that description. I mean, first of all, like, the location in terms of transportation just cannot be beat. I honestly think it's better than just about anywhere that you could find in Manhattan, because almost every single subway line is here. LIRR is here as well too, and I think there's like 1 or 2 or 3 other lines that are just like a short walk away, but like everything's here at this location. And apart from that, I mean, my wife and I were just blown away by the amenities here. I think there's like 3 different lounges. Like one of them is like a workspace type of one. The other ones are just very luxurious, frankly. And there's like a 24/7 gym. There's a screening room, and there's a rooftop pool as well. Although I am not a very good swimmer, and it's also closed right now. But it's just I feel like all the work that I've been doing these years, and I have worked hard, it's really, really paying off at this point. And I'm sure I'll come back to this because the rest of the topic of this video, the creating and destroying of opportunities with your thoughts, in case you were wondering like what is all that about, I think it's very, very related to why we've been able to end up here. And I think I'll give a few different examples here. Sometimes people are kind of resistant to mindset type things of, it's like, oh, like, what does it really matter? Like feel good nonsense, or like, is this some kind of like hocus pocus, like mumbo jumbo nonsense type of thing? But even apologies for this sudden cut. Some of I make it a general rule to just do everything in one take. I mean, occasionally I might mess up and then start it over after some amount of time, but usually I just try to keep going no matter what. This time the video just stopped for no discernible reason at all. So I'm just going to pick up right where I left off, because that's going to save more time than just doing all that over again. So yeah, I mean, I think I was just talking about, in terms of mindset, if you think it's like just kind of nonsense, it doesn't really mean anything, like in terms of like just positive thinking, even at a very surfacey level, I was going to say before the video restarted, there's been so many studies done on the impact of our thinking on our being and our actions and everything, right? Like in terms of, for instance, somebody that is smiling all the time, even if they don't actually literally feel happy at first, over time they genuinely start to become happier. It's like, I guess the signals are kind of firing in the brain. The smiling is like signaling to us that we are happy at some level, and then strangely we start actually feeling happy, and then of course that makes us smile more, and then that makes us happier, and right, so that's creating, of course, a positive feedback loop. And there was another study where, I forget if it was like a crossword puzzle or if it was like a test or something like that, but in any case, or a passage that they read, but it was words such as like old, slow, decrepit, and so on, that the potential person, probably unknowingly in the test, is encountering. Or probably they knew they were in some type of study, but they did not know, as with many studies, what the true purpose of the study was, because that would ruin the point of it. And when they walked down the hall afterwards, they really walked slower, much slower on average than the people that read a passage or whatever it was, where there were words such as fast, young, forward, and so on, right? So essentially on a subconscious, subliminal level, we are very affected by the thoughts that we think, the motions that we make. I think there was another study where there was somebody wearing headphones, or there were people wearing headphones, and they were told that they wanted to test, I believe, if the headphones were secure, right? Some kind of sneaky thing. They said something along the lines of, oh, when you're listening to this, I think it was somebody else express opinions on something, try to go like this to see if the headphones stay stable. And then another group, they were told to go like this to see if the headphones would stay stable. And I don't know if you've guessed, but basically the people that went like this with the headphones, they were much more agreeable in terms of I guess they were playing something over the headphones, something that they were going to be asked if they agreed or disagreed with it. And they were much more agreeable and open to the information that they were hearing because of this. Now, I would assume that in a culture where this nutting does not mean yes or I agree, that it could have very well been the opposite. Like it's based on, it's these things don't exist in a vacuum. They still have context. They still have cultural context. I'm sure there's still individual context and so on. But also, like, we're still like biological organisms, and we're still humans, and there are still going to be things that stay constant in terms of human psychology and in terms of how our movements and thinkings will constantly affect our states of being, etc. So, I think that that's kind of a good little intro or bit of contextual information. And one of my favorite examples is the idea of like the socially awkward person that thinks, nobody likes me, nobody wants to talk to me, nobody really wants to be friends with me or chat with me, and so on. And everyone's like, no, like, don't say that. Like, come with us to the party. And, there's definitely been times in my life where I've been that person. And before cell phones, I guess, at the party, you were kind of just like, eating more, like just getting another drink, just taking another sip of water again. I guess now people can kind of isolate themselves on their phone, and that's considered perfectly fine, of course. But anyway, so you go to the party, and because of the thoughts that you're thinking and that you've been thinking about yourself for quite a while, your body language is closed off. You're like kind of, you look kind of more contained. Your facial expression, of course, is not very pleasant, probably. And if somebody starts talking to you, they're like, hey, like, John, like, how's it going? And you don't really make eye contact with them. You don't really sound friendly, right? Instead of sounding like this, like maybe you're like, oh, hey. And, and then the person thinks like, oh, wow, like John, like, probably doesn't like me very much because he's not really looking at me, and his, tone of voice isn't very friendly. And, he kind of looks like he wants to leave, like, from the way that he's standing, so closed off. Right. I mean, they're not like thinking all these sentences one after another. They're probably just in a moment, like, thinking even on a subconscious level, like, oh, this person like doesn't like me, or this person isn't friendly. Right. They might even think like this person, John, isn't even friendly in general. And so, and so then they don't talk to you for very long and they leave. And then you think like, wow, you see, I was right. Yeah. Like, you dragged me to this party, but like, nobody wants to talk to me, right? So what was the point of coming here in the first place? You said that it wouldn't be bad, but it was, right? So then you think even more like, oh yeah, like, see, I am so socially awkward, and really nobody likes me, and really nobody wants to talk to me. And then your eye contact becomes even worse, and the way that you stand becomes like even worse, and your tone of voice becomes even more unfriendly, and then that makes you stay away from like these social situations even more, and then that obviously is creating a negative feedback loop. And that is, and that could, like, not every person has to be social, but the point of the example is just to show that so many things are happening on like a subconscious, subliminal level without our being even aware of it. And there's opportunities that you're destroying from thinking this, because probably at some point in your life you're going to have to talk to people, and by continuously perpetuating these negative cycles, you are missing out on the chance to talk to important people, whether it's a potential employer, a potential important person in your field, maybe a potential like business or life or teaching opportunity, right? So I think that's a pretty powerful example. And in terms of my own life, I think, well, the short version is that, maybe I'll tell the whole story, in some other time, but, I might have said in another video that I've taught for over 20 years since the age of 13. So I've taught for a long time, but a lot of it was as like an employee, or when I was a teenager / kid, it was at like a Chinese school, music school, etc. It was kind of more volunteer type stuff or very little pay. But it was only the last 4 years that, the private studio basically took off and became very successful. And, part of it is like, honestly, how did things become so successful? How did things end up going so well? Obviously, there are certain parts of it that are not as mindset related. Like, I did just put in all of the work. Like, I did just practice a lot, like more than anyone else that I knew. I put more thought into my methodologies and how I practice than anyone else that I knew. And I just put in the work over a long, long period of time. But, like basically every piano teacher is an entrepreneur, whether they know it or not, right? Everybody's has their own business, whether they're aware of it or not. And when you're starting off, like it's, it can be a bit intimidating. So for instance, like in terms of creating opportunities with your thoughts, like I was talking about, like when I started on Thumbtack, which is like, a platform for all different types of services, including piano, like I had no reviews, and there were people with like 30 or 40 reviews. And I could have thought like, wow, like I really, even though I have teaching experience, like there's no way I'm going to succeed on this platform. And also like, you've got to like pay for like each lead that comes out. And a lot of people thought this, like a lot of people thought like, oh, like maybe it's not worth it to put in X amount of money. But, I just thought like, well, but if there's a return, then it's likely going to be, I mean, what matters is if you get back, in terms of ROI, return on investment, more than you're putting in. If that's the case, then we shouldn't be afraid to take steps forward. And, I guess that's a topic for a different video. But in any case, I just thought like, what would be the mentality of somebody that already had a lot of reviews? I mean, they would have confidence. I already had confidence in terms of teaching from doing it so long, but, more from like a business / mindset standpoint, it's like, well, I shouldn't have less confidence than somebody that already has 30 or 40 reviews. I should just be reaching out to people. I should be friendly. I should, act like I know what I'm doing in terms of, even though I hadn't used Thumbtack before, right? Just reach out, just do my usual work, be confident, be friendly, be personable. And I just did good work and collected reviews. And, now that I've gathered over 100 5-star reviews, and surprisingly, some of those people from 4 years ago, they still only have like 30 or 40 reviews. Like they're still in the same place as all that time ago. And it was really just because I kept telling myself like, well, if you do, like, how would somebody with a lot of reviews act? And, I acted with confidence. I taught, I did good work. Then I asked people to leave reviews. And then when they left reviews, well, I became more confident, and then I would do more good work and I would collect more reviews. And that again was like just a positive feedback loop and created a snowball effect. And this is kind of this idea of already thinking about the end result and thinking about like what's the mentality of somebody that is already at the goal that you're seeking, and preemptively starting to think and act in that way already, because that's a big part of creating these positive loops. Another really powerful one, and this will seem probably pretty bizarre, because, well, frankly, before I was much more of like a regular piano teacher, didn't have a lot of funds, wasn't paid very well at all in terms of, if anybody, I don't know if people are aware how much teachers make at like music schools compared to if they're on their own, but it's a lot less because they do all of your marketing for you and find students for you and schedule and all that sort of thing. But as the studio started to be more successful, at some point I started doing something that was kind of strange. Like, obviously you shouldn't like just be completely careless and just spend money left and right. But, my wife and I, we started going to some nicer restaurants, and we started staying in some nicer like hotels and places and things. And at some point I just started thinking like, this is normal for us. Like, it's very easy for us to be able to afford, these things. And honestly, there's quite a few people in my life that if they were given the opportunity to like, upgrade the hotel room or to eat at the nice restaurant compared to like the not as nice restaurant, they would err on the side of the less expensive, just because they were kind of afraid, like in terms of like budgeting reasons. Now, obviously, if there's like real like hard numbers, like you can't actually literally afford it, then I would not advise going to do the more expensive thing, but it was definitely within our means. And and we enjoyed it. And that was, I thought, like, well, if I were even more successful than now, then this would be normal for us. And it wasn't that much of a stretch. So then I just thought, like, hey, let's enjoy this. And then let me think also, like, this is just very easy and very natural for us. And I thought the same thing in terms of investing in myself, in terms of courses and so on, because I invested actually a lot. Previously I invested a lot for me at the time in lessons, just as a pianist. I think a lot of us did, and in terms of my colleagues and I and so on. But then also, like, in terms of other things, like to expand my thinking in terms of business, in terms of mindset, in terms of life things, coaching, courses, like, etc. I honestly invested a lot, and it's something that I wouldn't have done. It's something I did this last year, and first of all, my life has been completely transformed because of it. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself, as a side note. I mean, it doesn't, like, a lot of piano teachers, they would gain so much from just going through coaching with an excellent mentor or an excellent program. And they think, like, oh, but this is like $1,000 or something. How could I can't spend it, but you can. Like, $1,000, that's not a break the bank really for anybody that's at least making like a regular living. And that could lead, honestly, to tens of thousands of dollars in return because of what you would learn from that. And yet everybody's like not afraid at all to go to college and end up like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt or tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Like, this course is, an investment in something like this is very small in comparison. And the same with apps as well too. And it's like, oh, but this is $5 or $6. Like, I don't want to get that. I want to get the free one. Well, but why not? It's such a small chance for the potential return that you could get. So anyway, all that to say, like, once I started doing this, things started to change significantly, because I thought, like, well, eating in these nice places, going to these nice places, this is normal. Investing in myself, honestly, much higher amounts than I normally did, that's normal. And I'm sure I'll talk about this in some other video, but, the universe started to kind of reflect some of these things, because the lessons that I teach, because they're so specialized around advancing extremely, extremely quickly at the piano, for adults, I mean, it is a more premium program, and I do have to communicate what the pricing is, what the expectations are, and so on in the interview. And because I had invested so much in myself, and because I thought it's so normal that we're living, honestly, a much nicer life now than we did before, I think that just came across. So before there was the confidence in teaching, but now there was even the confidence in life. And I'm meeting other adults that are like highly successful in their careers, right? People that in all these different fields, all these different industries, where I'm a layperson, but they've done really, really well, and yet they're very, very passionate about the piano, and I'm communicating to them, oh, this is the pricing of the lessons, right? This is the investment, and this is what's expected out of you, and I can just deliver this with total confidence, because honestly, I have bought things that were way more expensive, and so I think that even on a subconscious level, I've created opportunities, because my whole state of being has changed. I've spent so much on myself and invested so much in myself that when I'm communicating how much my services are worth, and comparatively at the moment they are less than some of the things that I've invested in, it's just very normal for me. It's like saying to buy like a $5 like coffee or something like that. So for all like the teachers out there that are afraid of like raising rates, or because this is a big thing amongst piano teachers, any kind of little change, everybody's very afraid of like losing all of the clients. If you believe in your own value and you can communicate that with confidence, you invest in yourself, the universe will start to reflect that. And then the potential students, they won't object. They'll see the value. They'll see the true value of what it is that you're offering, because you're being honest with yourself. You are investing in yourself, and by extension, the students. And, it's things have gone very well as a result. And the business has just done better and better, and the studio's done better and better. And then, of course, all the thinking about, oh, this is normal for us to go to nicer places. This is normal for us to invest this much in terms of, courses or other things for our own self-improvement. That, has indeed come to fruition. And so then that creates a positive feedback loop. We keep attracting more, good students. The business does better. We're able to invest more in ourselves. And it's just going to continue this way. But I didn't wait until I've got, I didn't just wait until, for the perfect time, I guess, to invest in myself. So I took the action already. I thought, what would be the end result, right? The nicer life that we already want to live, and kind of worked backwards from there. So if we had a nicer life already, it would be normal for us to invest so much in the courses and in the trainings that I'm putting so much of our resources in right now. It would be normal for us to live a nicer life, eat at nicer places, and so on. And, so by thinking that became reality. And obviously the ultimate example of this is the fact that we're living in this building now. Even during the summer, we had kind of slightly entertained the idea, and it honestly was still too early. And I just tried to create positive feedback loops in my own mind in terms of, what would I be doing? What would I be thinking if I were already living here? And indeed, it's somehow, we honestly thought we wouldn't get it, but somehow it just came to fruition. And this is definitely my greatest accomplishment in terms of that, my real life application of mindset. And I think I'll kind of close off, and I'm pretty sure this will be my longest video yet, but hey, it's a major change, and I just thought it would be hopefully helpful to share more thoughts around it. So in terms of piano playing, sometimes we're really struggling with a passage technically, right? It's very difficult to play. It seems like we'll never get there. And often the student will start to develop bad habits because of maybe the physical way that they're approaching it, maybe their alignment, maybe the way that they're distributing their weight. It definitely is important to get a teacher and to have lessons or some type of regular program if you really want to be able to help specifically through technical elements. So, and in my community of adult learners, obviously I'm giving super specific technical advice all the time, using my physical methodology and other thoughts, strategies, mindset things, obviously that you've heard. So, but anyway, assuming that that's happening, that you're taking lessons or you're receiving very good instruction, and something about those physical aspects already, there is definitely some mental component here. You think well, if I already mastered this passage, how would it feel to me? And it should feel effortless, right? It should feel like the easy, if you really mastered it. So if you have this difficult passage and you're thinking oh, probably in the end, it's going to feel like I'm pressing buttons, or, just, I got to press harder in order to, and then do this. It's not going to feel like that. It's not going to, your arm's not going to be sore. You're not going to be raising your fingers super high. For instance, this feels easy. If I go like this, or this feels easy, or this feels easy. And in case you're wondering, has he just completely lost his mind? That's what the passage should ideally feel like in the end, as easy as going like this or like this. Just moving your arm around, using your wrist to carry your arm weight through to different sections, although you're still utilizing some finger. But it should feel about as easy as doing this, if you have a good teacher and if you approach things with the right mindset. And at least this, even though it's a very general type of comment, it can let you search for the correct types of physical motions and the amount of relaxation, honestly, that we're looking for, if you can really master the technique. So this was a longer one. I hope that there were things in here that were helpful. I mean, the main topic was, creating and destroying opportunities with your thoughts, obviously, but I think there was a lot of other mindset stuff mixed in there as well. So, yeah, let me know if you found that helpful. Perhaps leave a comment. Is there anything you'd like me to elaborate on? Any topic you want to know more about? Questions? And please subscribe if you found things helpful. I'm actually recording this very near the end of 2022, and I believe it'll be posted at the beginning of 2023 as the first video of the new year. So Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope everybody has a very happy and healthy and successful new year, and I hope everyone's going to work with me, whether you're just watching my videos or you reach out and just go towards our goals, whether they're pianistic or life goals. So yeah, Happy New Year, and see you guys soon.